Oh, that's a good question. Okay, so on in our Facebook page, so if you guys don't know my backstory, at the age of 26, I became an entrepreneur and a full-time entrepreneur. Okay, you never heard of Rich Dad Poor Dad, Lisa? So I became an entrepreneur, and it was it was basically me aligning with my purpose and destiny, and that's why I always say I'm the savvy business chick. Oh, okay. That's why I always say I'm the savvy business chick, helping you know your purpose and destiny in the marketplace. So after I graduated from college, I felt like my purpose and destiny was in the corporate America. I loved everything about corporate America. I love the grit of corporate America. I got out of college and I worked with stockbrokers, guys. And I worked with a top stockbroker who was female. So I didn't plan for that, but basically I worked with a top stockbroker who was female, and she handled multi-million dollar contracts, and I was her marketing and salesperson, and she let me handle her smaller contracts. And so I learned how to do stuff with that, and that was really cool as a young person. And then something happened, which I just have to say a part of my story. I was in a bad relationship, guys. I was in an abusive relationship, and I became majorly depressed, and I mentally walked away from my job. When I say mentally walked away from my job, like I couldn't work. So, but thankfully, my job was so bomb at the time, even as a young person, just getting out of college, that they basically paid me on somewhat of a disability until I made a decision to, I guess, finally quit. And then, as I was telling Miss Lisa over here on Periscope, there was a period for like a year, a little bit under a year and a half, maybe like a year and 3 months, I became a flight attendant. And one of the reasons why I became a flight attendant is because I love to travel, still do to this day. But my psychologist at the time told me that I didn't need to work a job where I had to be in at 9 o'clock in the morning. Like basically, I didn't need a job with like that kind of structure where I had to report at the same time. I needed like freedom. And so in my mind, I grabbed this this job as a flight attendant. But the true freedom is being your own boss. So I didn't know that then, but hindsight is 2020. So I'm wrapping it up, Sonny. Thank you for asking that question. So I became miserable as a flight attendant because what you don't know is that the seniority, you're only like really doing well if you have the level of seniority to pick the good trips per se. So I have been complaining, and it's a good thing that I have people in my circle that won't let me complain, that won't let me make excuses, that won't let me stay in a bad situation for a long time. So I was talking to my cousin, a male cousin in Atlanta, and I think he had just heard me complain about my job too much that month. So he said, "Oh, if you so fed up with them, why don't you quit?" And guys, I quit that job, and I did not have anything lined up. So that's why when I'm telling you guys things to consider before you quit, take it from someone who has quit at least 2 or 3 jobs without having a plan. So I'm telling you from experience to have a plan, but God worked it out anyway. So fast forward, I wanted to go back into the financial industry, and I had applied for another job with a really big firm doing merchant banking, and they had 100 people apply for this particular job doing merchant banking, which means I would have been helping to manage billions of dollars. And I was like, oh, another great opportunity for me. And I got chosen 1 out of 100. I mean, those are like statistics. I mean, like who does that, right? 1 out of 100. Long story short, I had a smear on my credit. So if you work in certain financial institutions, like, they check your background like crazy. I had a smear on my credit, and they rescinded the offer. And that's why I don't trust those, credit repair people, because I went with one of them and they let one of my accounts get into be delinquent, and I had gotten a judgment on my account from Capital One for some stupid amount, like if you think back at it, it's like, man, I lost that job for let's say $1,200, and all because they sold me a bill of goods that they could lower the amount and settle, and I didn't know. I was a young woman, but God, that's when you say that, but God, right? So then that just ushered me into, I was so down. I was down, depressed, guys. At that time, I went to church. I don't know if I heard the news on Thursday or Friday. I went to church that Sunday, and my mentor, life coach, man of God now, is a major prophet. At the time, I was prophesied to when I was sitting in church, and all he said was, God's going to give you your own business. And I was like, looking behind me, because I didn't think it was me. And so, I know, won't he do it? So, I didn't think it was me. So, that's why I can help any and everybody. If they don't think that God chose them, I'm a living witness that, like you said, he calls the unqualified, or at least I didn't think I was qualified. And what shocked me the most is that it was in a completely different industry. So if you guys have heard from me starting, got out of college, went to American University here in Washington, D.C. for international business. I loved marketing. Got out, started working in the finance industry with stockbrokers, did more marketing, did more sales, only for God to place me in healthcare. I'm not a nurse. My godmother tried to convince me to be a nurse, and I still didn't go to nursing school. But I have a much love and respect for nurses. And then that happened. So I would say 6 months from me hearing that word, I was doing business planning. I was doing everything I needed to do to get my license for the business. And then that business it's still in operation. For those of you who do or do not know, I am pretty much retired. I'm a full-time mompreneur.